Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I appreciate you being a viewer. I appreciate you being a subscriber on the Ignition Time channel, which is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. You will always get the truth wherever it might lead us. And the truth is, our thoughts about money may not actually be consistent with what is actually happening in the world. And I believe what's happening with the stimulus negotiations, what's happening with this horrific economic crisis as a result of this pandemic has actually taught us that. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. On your screen, you'll see this article from the New York Times, and the headline of the article reads, "Why some states are seeing higher revenue than expected, believe it or not, despite all the job losses, as the pandemic hammers those poorest amongst us, those in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality. The rich have propped up state budgets." What does this actually mean? What this actually means is states with a progressive tax policy, meaning states where the rich get taxed significantly more. Basically, I'm talking about state income taxes here. I'm not talking about federal income taxes. They are actually tending to do better despite the horrific economic crisis which has affected the poorest among us, the most vulnerable among us. Take a look at this chart on your screen, which shows you some of the states that have actually regained lost tax revenue. You'll take a look at this chart, which shows you cumulative tax revenue from January of this year through October of this year. Let's take a look at California. You'll see the line in that dark red color that represents 2020 and the line in orange that represents 2019. You can start to see that earlier in the year, let's look at California. Let's focus on California. You'll see that the divergence between the red and the yellow was quite significant earlier in the year. So essentially, when we compare March all the way through, let's say, July of 2020 compared to 2019, there was a big divergence in revenue for California. But recently, you start to see that the income for California has come back through state revenue. Very fascinating. It's a similar case in Wisconsin, although the chart looks slightly different. A similar case in Minnesota, which is coming back, not to the extent that California has come back, but if you take a look at how the red line and the orange line are starting to converge for Minnesota, you'll start to see how the gap is essentially reducing. And in Maryland, you can't even tell when you take a look at the right side of your screen for Maryland, you can't tell the difference between the red line and the orange line, which means that these states have actually regained their tax revenue. Now, I want you to know that President Trump has called aid for state and local aid President Trump called it a bailout for poorly run democratic states. And a lot of Republicans have said that as well. And let's be clear, a lot of states are hurting, both red states and blue states. But what is really fascinating about this is that the states that are actually starting to recover, starting to do better despite this horrific economic crisis, they have among the most progressive tax policies in the country. And that is actually part of what has rescued them this year, according to this fascinating article from the New York Times. We'll provide you with a link to the article in the description section below, so I strongly recommend you check it out. But I want to be clear, things are not fair by any stretch of the imagination. This is a quote from Peter Franchot, who's a comptroller for the state of Maryland. He said, "We have a recession for low-wage earners, and we just have a weird situation for everybody else." And he's absolutely right. Maryland announced last week that a $64 million increase in estimated revenues in their budget this year compared with September estimates, which was significantly up from last year. So the state's actually doing better than they expected. In fact, Mr. Franchot basically called for Maryland to enact its own stimulus apart from Congress. In other words, let's not depend on the federal government. Let's pass stimulus for Maryland residents. Here's something else that he said. Despite the progressive tax structure, despite the wealth that we have in Maryland, despite the fact that we're back within a safe harbor of tax revenue collection, the suffering is just completely unacceptable. Now let's take a look at another chart on your screen that shows you states that have lost significant tax revenue, unlike the earlier chart where I showed you that states have recouped essentially their lost revenue. You'll take a look at Texas, Florida, and Nevada. Now let's take a look at Texas. You'll start to see the red and the orange diverge significantly earlier this year, and they're still quite far apart. In fact, with Florida, the divergence seems to continue. And with Nevada, that divergence is massive because it's not like we're going to Las Vegas and gambling and staying in a hotel anytime soon. So you can start to see the cumulative tax revenue from January through October in the states of Texas, Florida, and Nevada on your screen. And you'll start to see how these states have significantly struggled and have lost a significant amount of revenue in 2020 relative to 2019. Now, I don't care whether these states are red states or blue states. If you pay close attention, they are both red and blue states, this chart and the previous chart. But what matters here is that different states are doing differently based on many complex factors. Speaking of different states doing differently and different people doing differently, Jim Cramer on CNBC said something that was very profound today. And he said the people who made money had money. In other words, the rich basically got richer. And he said there is a wealth transfer essentially from people who have no money to people who already have money because Congress is so inept. Interesting comments from Jim Cramer. I completely agree with him. I do believe the rich have gotten richer. In fact, I know that. Let's roll this segment and see what Jim Cramer had to say.
We talk so often, Jim, about the juxtaposition of new highs for the S&P and certainly for the NASDAQ and so many stocks and so much wealth created juxtaposed with the suffering in this country that is simply unacceptable, I think, for many.
Yeah,
in terms of people who are going hand to mouth, who are waiting online for food, who are unemployed, and who are facing the prospect of no government aid, by the way, still bottled up. Another problem, it seems, in terms of trying to get a package out of there.
Look, the people who have made money had money. And I think that's what's most discouraging if you're someone who wants to have equality in the country. People who had a lot of savings, David, were able to take that savings and make a lot more. I'm not just talking about Bitcoin, which, by the way, is what they should be trying to hack, right?
Bitcoin has been incredible. 23,000 yesterday? I haven't looked at it this morning.
But, I mean, the wealthy people, there's no Bitcoin fraction. Well, there'll be some outfit that'll do it.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to do it now. But my point is that, David, the people who got the money and did well made a lot more money with their money than people thought. Robinhood, we haven't even talked about that. You take $1,200. You don't really know that they're taking your order flow, but maybe we should have. But I just think that this is one of those, a wealth transfer from the people who don't have much to transfer to the people who had enough. And that's because Congress has been so inept.
Right. So widening the continued gulf in terms of income inequality.
That's the only way to look at it, I think. I mean, it's very Dickensian.
And while our viewers and subscribers are waiting for news about stimulus, keep in mind that I've talked to you about how states are doing in this video. I've talked to you about what Cramer said about the wealth inequality that exists in our country. What is Congress doing to address the inequality? I will provide you with a detailed stimulus update video very shortly, but let's take a look at comments from the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, on the floor of the Senate today. And he said, I'm even more optimistic than I was last night. A bipartisan framework is, I quote, very close at hand. Let's roll the tape and see what the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had to say. Let's watch.
Our bipartisan discussions are continuing to make significant headway toward another relief package for the American people. Democratic leaders, Speaker Pelosi, Leader McCarthy, and I have been working around the clock for several days now. The talks remain productive. In fact, I'm even more optimistic now than I was last night that a bipartisan bicameral framework for a major rescue package is very close at hand. Well, let's face it though, Mr. President, it doesn't help struggling Americans keep their jobs or endure unemployment or pay their rent or get vaccines any faster to keep hearing that we're having good discussions. What families across the country deserve, what they have needed and deserved for months now, is an outcome. Another targeted relief package to get more assistance into the hands as fast as possible. Struggling small businesses owners have already waited too long for a targeted second round of PPP. Laid off workers have already waited too long to have expiring programs extended. Kids, teachers, and families have already waited too long for funding to help schools reopen safely. We've already waited too long to fully fund vaccine distribution, so our scientists' historic sprint towards a safe and effective vaccine is followed up by an equally important logistical effort. This has been an unbelievably hard year for our country. We've seen normal daily life grind to a halt and take a record-setting economy right down with it. And even as we've watched doctors, nurses, and researchers make life-saving history, we've lost more than 300,000 Americans entirely too soon. Like I've said, the Senate will be right here until an agreement is passed. whenever that may be.
So that was it, everybody. The fascinating difference in the way money works, depending on which states you live in, the fascinating way in which different states are doing better compared to other states, and the wealth inequality that exists in our country. The stock market is at an all-time high. Home prices are at an all-time high. Individuals who are doing well are now doing better. Their 401ks are at an all-time high, but the most vulnerable amongst us have been left behind. Certain companies have been completely decimated, while other companies continue to make money hand over fist. I did do another video on our channel called Profiteers, where I highlighted the companies that continue to make significant amounts of money. In fact, 45 out of the top 50 companies in the United States have continued to make more and more money this year, and many of them actually laid off employees. Let me know what you think about this information and comments from the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, while the most vulnerable among us continue to wait for stimulus. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You'll find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I want you to know that you are greatly appreciated. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is a labor of love. It's a labor of love for you. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. This is some information about me. I am a proud patriot of the United States of America. For me, it's not about the red or the blue. It's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm American first. We are all American first. I release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. East Coast time. If you want to get breaking news and alerts from us, if you want to get important news and information from us that's relevant to the country, that's relevant to the economy, because matters of the country impact the economy, and matters that help you make more money, save more money, and invest more money. Country, economy, and money. That is what the Ignition Time channel is all about. I want you to please click subscribe. If you want to hear from us, get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time. So type that out into the body of the text message and then send that text message to the number 70,000. That's 70000, and you'll get added to our SMS alerts list going forward. You can opt out of the SMS alerts at any point in time that you want. You can also get added to our email list if you want important news and information from us. You can get added to our email list by simply going to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you can opt out of the emails at any point in time that you want. Follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. You'll get exclusive news and content from us on Instagram. Also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. We release breaking news and alerts on Twitter. So make sure you follow us there. Now keep in mind that YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. So all you have to do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. And then you'll be able to visit the home page of our channel and then check out our videos at any point in time that you want. You won't be dependent on YouTube notifications. If you learn something new from this video, please click the like button. Gently tap that like button. In fact, I want you to ignite that subscribe button and ignite that notification button, because the name of our channel is Ignition Time. You learn something new from other members of our community, please comment below. Our community is intelligent, it's bipartisan, it's respectful. You might make some new friends in our community, so definitely comment below. You'll also find the links to all of our resources always in the description section below, so you know what our new sources are and you can check them out for yourself. Please share this video with friends and family if you learned something new. Thank you so much. Don't forget to click like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to enable notifications. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I would really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.